Welcome to another episode of Healing Through Love. Each week, we share ideas, experiences, and resources to increase the awareness of domestic and family violence and to empower survivors to grow and thrive. We talk with experts who share their advice, or with people who have experienced abuse, no matter where they are on their journey. This is all about healing through love. And now, here are your hosts, Sharlene Lynch and Rose Davidson.
The Healing Through Love podcast with Sharlene Lynch and Rose Davidson. Cosmic love is a superpower awaiting to be awakened in all human hearts. In episode 64, Andreea Billig discusses how we can love, thrive and shine.
I didn't feel like I had a purpose. So those were two moments that really changed my life. And I didn't have a plan. I didn't know how I was going to do it. But I just knew I had to do it and uproot myself from a life which I knew, from an apartment that was paid for, from a car that I had, from my family, my friends, everything that I knew, and start fresh in a different culture and in a different country.
The Healing Through Love podcast with Sharlene Lynch and Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to Healing Through Love podcast. I'm your host, Sharlene Lynch from sharlenelynch.com. Healing Through Love is here to help victims and survivors of domestic and family violence find their way back to living a more fulfilling and meaningful life. We interview experts and survivors who share their beautiful stories and offer advice to those who've experienced abuse, no matter where you are on your journey of healing. As well as the Healing Through Love podcast, we hold annual Pamper Days here in Adelaide, South Australia for survivors of domestic and family violence, where local businesses come together and pay it forward in a much needed day of indulgence. Think day spa on steroids. It's an amazing thing to behold. And I'm so proud of Healing Through Love because we've now gone global this year and we are teaching people all over the world how to hold their own days of indulgence and pay it forward in their local communities. Now, we're looking for organizations and for people with similar values. So if you feel like this is an alignment for you, please reach out to Healing Through Love. We're on every platform. We'd love to have a conversation with you. Every week we interview amazing guests, and this week is no different. We have the amazing AG, or Andreea Billig, is the best-selling author, transformational coach, and founder of the Project of Love. We are so passionate about a project on love. She's passionate about empowering women to love who they are and love what they do and love their lives. It's all about love, and we're about love. Welcome, Andreea. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you. It's so amazing to be here, and thank you for having me on your show, and thank you for everything you're doing to spread the love in the world. And because I think that's that's the key to everything, to every challenge in our lives, to every situation that's challenging, like love, going back to that frequency and to that energy of love. So thank you for doing that.
It's so true. Love is a high frequency, right up there with joy and gratitude. And when we can lean into love, we raise our frequency and the frequency of people around us. Now, you've written an amazing book. I'd love us to start the conversation today by talking a little bit about the book. How did you get to write a book, and what's the book about?
Okay, well, this is one of my books. It's called 5 Easy Steps to Ending a Toxic Relationship. And it's about, your topic, because abuse isn't just, physical abuse. There is another type of abuse that doesn't leave marks on the body, but leaves marks on the heart. And that's the emotional abuse. And, that can happen at an early age in a family. And that if that's not healed, then it will kind of come back again and again in our relationships. So that's what they call a toxic relationship. It's a relationship where one of the partners is the abuser and the other person is the victim, and it's the kind of relationship that it's labeled as toxic, because instead of lifting us up and bringing us to a point where we are the best version of ourselves, it's just the opposite. It's just kind of tears us down and makes us feel that we are not worthy. So, I talking a little bit about my story. I was born and I grew up in Romania, and I had like very loving parents. I know that they did the best they could to give me an education and provide for me, but the way they expressed their love wasn't the kind of expression of love that I needed. So I wasn't told that I was smart. I wasn't told that I was pretty. And typically there was a lot of expectation from me to perform in school and to get the best grades and all that. And whenever I failed those expectations, there was heavy criticism. So there was a form of, emotional abuse as being raised up by especially by a father who was very, very demanding and who would easily get upset when I didn't meet his expectations. So later that kind of transpired in my romantic relationships, because I was drawn to men that were very similar to my father in that regard. And when I was lucky to find a man who would give me unconditional love, I would shy away from that person. I would just find a reason to end the relationship, because that wasn't my comfort zone. That was a discomfort to me, because it was forcing me to open up my heart, and opening up my heart was something that was challenging. So going through a journey of self-transformation and self-reflection and inner work, and transitioning from a victimhood mentality where I would point my finger at the other person and blame them and say, hey, this is what you're doing to me, and this is not nice. I came to the realization that I drew in my life all those experiences to heal myself. So hence this book came into being, because I wanted to share with other people the steps I took to free myself, not necessarily from those relationships, but from an old pattern, from a trauma that I carried inside. So that's what the book is for people who are in relationships that are, somehow abusive. And by the way, if it's physical abuse, that the advice I give in the book is just go get professional help. I mean, you need to get professional help. You need to get out of there. You cannot have that done to you. But if it's not physical abuse, if it's emotional abuse, that seems like easier to endure. So we tend to stay and hope that things will get better, but things don't get better typically, and our self-esteem plummets, and then it's very hard to leave, because there is the self-confidence is not there to be able to do that.
I hear you every step of the way. I know for myself, it wasn't until I could start to love me for my uniqueness and what I bring to the world that I even felt worthy of a man who could love me the way. So we're just recently married. I got married at 56, so we've only been married a couple of months now. Hey, yes, and loves me so completely and so amazingly that I wouldn't have, the earlier me would never have felt worthy of a love like that. And so because of that, then I didn't attract him. Yes, and interestingly enough, AJ, he's been in the background for 35 years. So he's always been there, but I wasn't at that attraction level to bring him into my proximity, because I wasn't loving myself the way that I deserve to be loved. So I hear you on every level. And I can hear when you're talking about the book and how you needed to come to the realization that you were attracting this. It's a really sticky subject. It's a really sticky subject, because when we're playing the victim, and we're using victim language and victim thought processes, we always think everything's done to us. It's done to us. And then the big shift is to see that everything around us happens for us. Everything happens for us, including abuse. So our listeners know that I've come from a background of not just family, but also domestic violence. And when I was able to change my perspective that this is happening for me, these are lessons for me to learn, and that my frequency is attracting this behavior. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in my proximity. So tough lesson. And I know, hearing this for the first time and being on the other side and still being in that victim mentality, I remember going, oh, you just do not know what you're talking about. So I get it, listeners. But if any part of this resonates with you, can I just encourage you to reach out and read the book? Read the book to help you move forward. I love it. So now tell us more about what you're doing moving forward with your book. Do you have other books that you've written? Are you running training sessions?
Yeah, sure. So I just want to say, that the book includes like really practical steps, and it doesn't tell you, just get out of there tomorrow or now, because again, it's hard. But slowly, I think it's very important for a person who is in this situation to gradually regain that self-confidence and self-esteem, and as you said, just remove themselves from that victim mentality, because that's very comfortable, right? You don't have to take any responsibility because it's all the other person. But until you take responsibility, and that's actually empowering, to say, okay, somehow I attracted this in my life, that's already the first step to empower yourself. And I think that's the most important thing, to put yourself in that position where, hey, I'm not a victim, I'm someone who is actually creating something in my life, consciously or unconsciously. So there are practical steps that you can take, and each chapter has exercises. And another book that I totally love it's called I Choose Love: A Journey from Fear to Love. And this book also has practical steps which you can take to access the frequency of love, because since, again, our childhood, most of us are conditioned to somehow live in fear. If you don't do that, you'll get punished. And then later in the society, if we don't obey the rules, we are being punished. So there is a fear, and then there is a scarcity mentality, and then the I'm not good enough mentality. And now with all the social media and all the for women especially, the self-image and all that, I mean, that's crazy what's going on there. So you cannot serve two masters. That's what they say. You cannot serve fear and love at the same time, because these are two different frequencies again. So you cannot be in both at the same time. And the choice we made out of fear are completely different than the choices we make out of love, or coming from love. So from love is actually following your heart and following your passion. Like, let's say you want to write, or you want to start a business, or you want to volunteer and help people. All these are coming from your heart. But then society tells you, oh no, you need to get a job. So you'd better stay in the job that you hate, but you have an income coming every month until they say, okay, you're done, you cannot work here anymore. So that's fear. So these are two, and one choice is very empowering again, and the other choice is kind of disempowering and keeping you in a loop. So that's another book. I'm also working on a women's fiction trilogy. It's a romance. It's called My Life on Tender. And yeah, I'm revealing the title for the first time. It's about a woman who travels the world to find true love. And the thing is that this true love, which is love basically, because love cannot be fake, it's already within us. It's in our hearts. It's a frequency, and it's our connection with the great spirit, or the creator of all things, whatever you want to call this energy. So it's in here, it's in us, and that's where we need to find it, as self-love, as you earlier said, and love for everything that exists and for life. And once we find it there, and we remember it's there, and we remember that's who we are, then we will attract it in our life. So I have the Project of Love, which is a very ambitious project, because the main goal is to just spread the love all around the world and give people who are ambassadors of love through their daily acts of kindness, a smile to a stranger. It can basically save someone's life if you just smile at someone. You don't know what that person is going through, but a simple smile can save a life. And that's love. So bringing together all these people who are living their lives from this perspective, and love is a foundation, and creating a movement. And I have a documentary that I want to make, and a podcast. So there are many things kind of are in the making right now.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So, wow. So there must have been a moment in time where there was a transition for you. There, a story that has created this pivotal moment that you've now stepped in to become the victor and changed your language, changed your thought processes. Is that a story that you can share with us today?
Oh, wow, sure. Yeah. I think, it started in my childhood when I was I was looking at life, and I was very eager and excited about finding my life purpose. I wasn't sure that, the success stories the society is showing us, that's necessarily the path I want to go. So I started writing stories when I was really young, 8 years old, and then I wrote a novel that didn't get published at 14, and then I pivoted and I was a radio host and TV host. So I did many things, but I always was looking for finding something that's really mine, and that's something that only I can do here on the planet. Like each one of us has this mission. And it was funny because I had like the character in my women's trilogy, I had social status, I had money, I had a nice job. I had everything basically, but still there was an emptiness inside of me, and I didn't know what to do about it. So, I would just buy clothes, and then I would go from one relationship to another, like the serial monogamist. And eventually I decided to pursue a passion I had as a child, and that was dancing. So I enrolled in summer classes for ballroom dancing and salsa. And it turned out that the woman who was running the dancing school, she was a Reiki master. So that was my first connection, like with spirituality, and that basically changed my life, because that was the point where they said, if this is not your life path, what you're doing now, this is going to go away. And it did. 6 months later, I lost my job. So I've been and then that's how I went back into writing and to traveling the world, and eventually ending up living here in the United States. I'm in Sedona, Arizona, which was another childhood dream of mine, like being here in this country and being able to live here permanently. So I think that moment when I said, okay, I want to do something that I always wanted to do, like following my heart and take those dancing classes, that was one moment that changed my life, because I started to have a conscious spiritual practice, meditation, Reiki, reading of many books to open my mind and see the world from a different perspective and expand my perspective of the world. And then in 2015, there was a fire in a club in Bucharest. Maybe you've heard about it. It was all over the world in the news, like 64 people died. Some of those people were my friends, like young in their 30s. And I could have been there that night, and I wasn't. I was at home, and that really triggered me. And I was like, what am I doing with my life? What's my purpose? So that's when I moved to Dublin for a little while from Romania, and then I eventually I made my way to the United States. But that idea of me, dying with my song in me and just living a life that really didn't serve anybody. I mean, yeah, I was making money and doing my PR consultancy and all that, but honestly, I didn't feel like I had a purpose. So those were two moments that really changed my life. And I didn't have a plan. I didn't know how I was going to do it. But I just knew I had to do it and uproot myself from a life which I knew, from an apartment that was paid for, from a car that I had, from my family, my friends, everything that I knew, and start fresh in a different culture and in a different country. And
I love it. Wow.
yeah.
So having that spark inside of you that there's something more, and then being open to possibilities. And I think that many of our listeners, we're very closed sometimes to possibilities because it's something different than what we know. And I love that what you're saying is that being open to those possibilities and being curious, because you don't know when one thing is going to lead to another thing that's going to lead to another thing. And I love the fact that you've said you don't really need to know all the answers, so that you can just, Andreea, you can just like figure it out as you're going, as long as you're sort of heading in the general direction. I love that. That's fantastic. And you've said that you've got a podcast coming up and you've also got a documentary. Is that something that you can talk about? Can you talk about the documentary, or is it still like in secret stage?
I mean, ever since I had this, the idea to write I Choose Love, I watched The Secret and basically every documentary I could watch that, talks about what the bleep do, so all those documentary. And I realized that, they talk about the law of attraction, healing, all that stuff, but there is nothing there that really explains the concept of cosmic love or love as a frequency, and how this frequency can transform every part of our lives. I like to talk and think about love as our inner superpower that can actually help us bring to the surface the best version of ourselves. So that's the vision for the documentary, to explain and show how this frequency can transform us. And
I hear you. So my beautiful baby boy passed away September 2011, and people quite often say, like, how do you do it? Like, how have you stepped into this new version of you, and how do you not fall apart every day? And my answer is always the same. I live in the loving of him, not the missing of him. So my thoughts go to the loving of him and the frequency of him and the thoughts about him, rather than the thoughts of not having him in my proximity. And it's living in that space and that frequency of love for him, regardless of his choice to leave, that has enabled me to heal at what I call the speed of love. So that, I'm an advocate for what it is that you bring to this planet and how you make a difference. I'd love to watch that documentary. I think it would be amazing.
And I love, what you're doing in the world makes such a huge impact that, I definitely want you to be part of it. So I want to stay, connect. And I just want to point out what you said. You said his choice to leave. And that's a very important thing, and that I also touch on in my book, I Choose Love, because people don't really think about death, and then they think about death as the end of everything. But when you look at yourself and you realize that you're pure consciousness in a body, and you're having an experience in this body, but the body is not who you are. And when a body is no longer animated by the consciousness, that's not the end for the consciousness. So the consciousness continues to exist. Then death isn't seen like this tragic moment in someone's lives. It's just a transition to a different form of existence for that consciousness. Oh,
I hear you.
yeah.
So
But it's difficult. It's
it
difficult
really
not to,
is.
to be
Well,
able to help that person, or yeah, it's hard. It's
it's
hard.
hard. Well, because I'm a woman of faith, a Christian woman. So that particular thing is the thing that I struggle with my Christianity, is that we have one level of thought process in around that, and then spiritually, I still feel an energy, which for me is and not his ghost. It is the love that I have for him that is pointed in his direction, on whatever level he is right now. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yes, and yes, I hear you.
And
And
I,
our faith makes us have different thought processes in and around this as well.
again, I don't want to challenge anybody's beliefs, and I totally respect, whatever our dear friends and viewers, listeners believe. That's my belief. So yeah, I'm.
And isn't it beautiful that we live on a planet where we can have these beautiful conversations, spiritual energy, frequency, faith, and that we can still explore different options, because what's right for one person might not be right for another. And, thankfully, we've got these beautiful podcasts where we can have these conversations, and perhaps maybe these will be the things that will spark your curiosity. So you move forward and you'll read the book, and then you'll become more curious and watch the documentaries and realize that you've got the power, you've got the choice to live a different life. And that's really what her book is talking about, is that educating you and being able to make a decision of how you want to live your life. I love it. I love what you bring to this planet.
Oh, thank you so much. And I love what you bring to the planet too. And thank you for creating a safe space for people to express, different opinions and different beliefs, because I think we need this. I mean, if someone has a different opinion, that doesn't make the person the enemy. We should be able to respect each other's opinions and views and life perception, because no one has the absolute truth. We are not God. We are just, looking at things through our lens, which is shaped by our past experiences and upbringing and education and all that. So let's be more tolerant with one another, and remember that beyond our beliefs and points of view and all that, we are all connected, and we are all coming from the same energy source, from God. And in that respect, we are like a big family.
Yes, as sisters in spirit. I love it. I love everything that you bring as far as having that level of curiosity and questioning, how we were brought up, and our parents did the best that they could with what they had. Yes, and we know we don't need to make those decisions to move forward. We've got the power of choice, and we can choose a different outcome for our lives. And I love the fact that you've lent into the frequency of love, which has enabled you to take risks, which other people might not be comfortable to do, because they're living in that space of low frequency, fear, and not feeling that they can support themselves to move forward with that level of curiosity. I love it. It's fantastic. And I'm looking forward to reading the book as well. So now tell us a little bit about how we can get hold of the book.
Well, my book is on Amazon. If you go to Amazon, US, UK, Australia, I mean, it's there. So it's available in paperback, in ebook, and I Choose Love is also available as an audiobook. So if you go in there and tap G Billig, Billig, you will find my books, or there is my website, agbillig.com. And then the projectoflove.com explains a little bit in more detail, in more depth, the mission, our mission, and the vision for the project. And you can also find my books, and in the near future, a link to the podcast. So yeah.
I love that. So all of these links will be in the show notes and also in the description. So you can just click on them. So you don't have to write them down. And if you're driving, please don't write them down. Make sure that you just follow the links. I love this. So if someone wants to lean forward and work with you, do you have a program where they can work with you? What does that look like?
Well, I'm working on creating a program, but I also love to, and the program would be like Love, Shine, love, thrive, shine, because I think when we access, like the love that's already within us, we are love, then we can finally embrace our authentic self, and then we actually unlock our gifts that we are born with. And that when we embrace those gifts and express them in the world, then we get to thrive, because then we are like fulfilled, and then we attract opportunities and prosperity and the people, so our life comes full circle. But I'm always happy to share, and I love to empower people and encourage them and remind them how great they are, how beautiful they are. So one-on-one session, yeah, I'm all game. I'm all up to that. So you can contact me through my website, agbillig.com, or at contact@agbillig.com. You can put that email in the show notes as well if you'd like. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to hear stories of love. So if you or a friend or someone have this amazing story of love that changed their life, and again, it doesn't have to be romantic love. When people love what they do, they create such beautiful, they make such an impact in the world. So all kinds of love, because love expresses itself in so many ways. So I welcome those stories, because I want to create an avenue for people to express that and show that there is so much love in the world right now.
Yes, it's so true. I love it. I've got a beautiful love story. It was actually going to be published in a magazine next month. And the fact that we met and dated when I was in my 20s, and then we separated for 35 years, and he's been in love with me ever since, and now we've just got married. So a beautiful story of when we can come full circle and we can love ourselves completely. We attract the love that we deserve. And we, both of us, always say we each think we're the lucky one to have the other. And that's when it's true love, is that each of us thinks we're so lucky to have each other. I love it. Now, in our final words before we go, because I cannot believe we've been talking for 30 minutes. Gosh, we could.
I know. My one thing I want to say, please have compassion for your parents and forgive your parents. It's really hard to live your life to the fullest and find love without forgiveness. And please remember that your parents did the best they could with the tools they had. So this is one thing. We need to go back all the way there if necessary, and do that, because you don't want to carry that. And the other thing is, just remember that wherever you are in your life right now is just a moment. That's not who you are. That's not permanent, and you have the power within yourself to change that. And especially if you lean into your connection with God, and you trust and you ask for his help, that's going to happen. And last thing, I truly believe that love is your inner superpower. So just use it, because nothing beats love. I mean, nothing beat that. Can beat that. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. And we look forward to you being a guest on some of our other podcasts as well, and keeping in your proximity. That's a goodbye from me. And see you later, everybody. Remember, you've got this. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Healing Through Love. You can get further resources, see the show notes, or simply reach out to us via our website at htlaustralia.org. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to your company next time on the Healing Through Love podcast.